Well, I think that's allowable too. Didn't you say, Barb, 2 out of every 3 years we can do something like that? I don't know. I just think what we did last year didn't work at all. I just think that shopping list of things. I don't know what Barb thought about it when she got that, but if I would have been her, I would have been shell-shocked.
So how did it transpire last year? I know that, I filled out my sheet, and I turned it into somebody, and then I think I saw a compilation of everything, and then was that just dropped in your lap, or did...
The board president sat down with me, and we took that compilation and talked about the compilation. The only previous experience I've ever had in another district that would be somewhat like what you're talking about is that the superintendent met with the Board of Education in closed session, and the board president kind of led the discussion, but it was a conversation. And honestly, it was lengthy, but we talked about the district's goals, but we talked about it. It wasn't in writing. I never had one in writing, whether I was a principal or a superintendent at that district, but every year I had a summative, even when I was a principal with the Board of Education. The superintendent led it then and was in on that. And that was a closed session. And it was valuable. But I felt like if they had concerns, they looked me in the eye and told me what those were, and it gave me a chance to ask questions about, so what does that mean? Because it was sort of like when you were asking about the band pans. I asked because I did not understand what you meant. And the problem with writing something down is, I don't know what that means. One of the comments from last year was I didn't go to enough school activities. Well, I don't know what enough are. Whoever wrote it, I'd just like for them to tell me, do you expect me at every activity? And I'd probably say I won't be there. But, it's so what are you looking for? And then what do you want me to do? But without that, without anybody's name attached to it, I don't know that. And that would lead to what Doug was saying, about making that list.
Do you have to, because I don't know, do you have to have a report in your file?
Every 3 years, I have to have a report in my file. I can have one every year if that's what the board decides, but every 3 years I have to have one in my file.
So did we have one last year?
Yes.
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 We've evaluated every year since I've been on. That was prior to you. I don't know that
we have
to evaluate every year.
We have to.
Within that, it was either last year or the year before that this changed, where the laws changed to kind of catch up for administrators, changed to catch up with Iowa teaching standards. Now they're administrative standards.
I think whatever we do, I think we need to do something that has the most meaning to our...
Well, I would agree that that form that I filled out, and I think I understand some educational jargon as well as anyone. It was like, what the devil are they meaning with some of these items, And then I'd say, I know what they mean, and I'd write it down, and then I'd turn the page, and no, that wasn't what they were asking, And so I think that was cumbersome, and I think maybe a dialogue would be good, healthy, and profitable.
The Administrative Advisory Committee I'm on for Iowa Association of School Boards, one of the things we worked on in that advisory committee is how difficult these standards are to interpret by board members. I'm thinking of the one called societal context. It's very difficult to have conversations about what that standard is, because it talks about the political, social, economic, legal, and cultural context of communities and how the superintendent works. Well, the role of the superintendent in the Des Moines Public Schools is largely political, okay? And it's a figurehead position. Very different than it is to be, and I don't mean that negatively, but that really is, the people that do the work are down the line a ways. So that societal context means something if you're in an urban district that's large. But in a rural community, it's very hard to take that particular item and then be able to talk to me about it or me to talk to you about it. But you get to a couple, 3 of those others, and that's primarily what my work is. You could say under family and community, you talk to me about, you want me in more community activities, and I can tell you why I don't. It's the number of hours that I work here in the community development I think I do just by doing the work that I do. But that's how we can talk, so you can understand where I come from, and I know what you're thinking now. I'd be an advocate for a conversation, and I'd be more than happy to come to you with some sort of presentation or report, and we'll call this You know, you did the summative last year. I'm not trying to talk you out of it, though. I don't want you to leave and say, well, the superintendent doesn't want a summative. That's not what I want you to think. I want you to have something that's good for you, but I want it to be a benefit to me, too.
Well, I think, bringing a presentation, I hate to call it presentation, but that's what I'm going to call it, to us with artifacts, I think that would be valuable to all of us. To me, that would be valuable to me, and I think it would be, I'd get much more out of that, and from a starting point than I would filling out that dang checklist. I'm not going to do that again.
I could use the jointly agreed upon goals, I could use our school improvement goals, and I could use those 6 standards to somehow put that together, if that would, and then I could do a little tap dance too.
So if we're going to...
Yeah, let's try that one here.
The tap dance, I like that.
Actually, I can do that.
So then actually we go down this list and say, just I'll pick one out of here, evaluates the financial needs and makes recommendations for adequate financing. That would be covered in that particular thing. Or provides democratic procedures and curriculum work utilizing the abilities and talents of entire players. That'll be covered in that.
Well, I
I'm
think
not going to
this-
tell you, if there are 82 criteria in here, you will not get a report on 82 criteria that night.
Yep, and that's why.
But I think, too, if I wanted to say, how do you recruit, select, induct, and retain staff to support quality instruction, if I got that to you a week ahead, maybe that can be addressed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, because if there's, one of these, it's important to me. 2 weeks.
So it looks to me like we have 2 options. If we want to do just what we've been talking about, if not, we need to choose an instrument to do it. Is that correct?
All I wanted is to incorporate most of these things that we have here on this form somewhere into our discussion here. That's the
So
main-
you want me to report on the criteria?
Well, like I said, it comes out of the managing operations and improving the educational process.
That we would probably go back to that list of the state standards that I would need to report to you on. I don't know how many criteria there are. I know there are 42 for teachers. And I don't know if I could do a presentation in one evening that you would want to sit through on 42 criteria. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck. I'm just saying I don't know.
I don't think I'd want to sit through that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should.
I don't want to.
You might have blisters on your feet from tap dancing.
Comments? Let's get something decided here, in my opinion, to move on.
There are 31 criteria.
Let's have a time limit. Really? I would like to know, we've set goals, we've talked about our goals a number of times. I would actually like to hear from Barb how she thinks we're doing on our goals, myself. She probably knows a whole lot more where we're at on those than any of us do, and I'd like to hear where we're at. And that would be the conversation part of it.
I can link as much of this to those 31 criteria as I can. If there's one of them that you want some emphasis on, then I'd want at least 2 weeks notice about that. And if I don't cover something or you didn't get enough info, you can ask me at the next board meeting, joint board meeting, to give you more info, and I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
Just as long as next year we get going on this earlier rather than doing it this time of the year, because they said in some of these other ones that they get going in January or February rather than now. And that's get ahead of the game a little bit.
Well, what is the evaluation period? School
The
year?
district can adopt the evaluation period that
Well,
the district can adopt the evaluation period that you want. If you hire a new superintendent in October, which happens in schools, you don't use the same evaluation cycle as you would if you hire somebody July 1.